Hey guys, Andy Shama here from FloMarching. We have a very special interview for you guys today. We have Kyle Tsuchiya, a snare drummer for the Bluecoats, and also was a member of the University of Minnesota drumline who performed with Justin Timberlake in the Super Bowl. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm good, Andy. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to have you today. I'm very excited to talk about this. So first off, let's just give everybody an idea of like what your experience is in the marching arts and marching band in general.
Sure. Yeah. So it all started back in high school, as it has for most people. I attended Eden Prairie High School, which is a suburb in southwest Minnesota. Um, and I was involved with the marching program, very involved with the marching program down there. Scholastic World Drumline, marching band, all of that. And I really, that's when I fell in love with it. And I knew I wanted to continue doing it for as long as I can. So I went on to march the Minnesota Brass Drum and Bugle Corps, which is a DCA corps in town here in Minnesota, the summer following my senior year of high school. Then I joined the University of Minnesota Marching Band, where I have been for 4 years now, and auditioned for Bluecoats and spent my 3 years of DCI there. And I've had an amazing experience in this activity, and yeah,
Definitely. So you marched in Bluecoats starting in 2015, I'm guessing,
that's correct.
because I was there in
Yep.
2014, right before, so just missed each other.
Right, right.
Okay, great. So first off, how did this idea of the University of Minnesota Marching Band joining Justin Timberlake in the halftime show, how did that pop up? How did that start with you guys?
Well, the last time the Super Bowl was in Minneapolis was in the early 1990s, and the University of Minnesota Marching Band was a part of that halftime show. And so, we heard that the Super Bowl was going to be in town again, and it was kind of a sort of a just throw it out there idea, like, hey, maybe we'll be in the Super Bowl halftime show again. And it started to pick up some traction. There was a social media campaign that started. I think the hashtag was UMN March with JT, and people were behind us. They really wanted us to be a part of this thing, and so it was still kind of a like a just throw it out there idea. Like we didn't think it was really going to happen, but then 2 months ago, back in December at our end of the season banquet, was when it was announced to us that it was actually going to be a thing,
Wow.
and yeah, just really, really thankful and lucky, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to start from somebody. Well, let me ask how did it start? Was it one person? Was it a group of people who started the hashtag or what?
Well, there was one person that kind of started the hashtag and sort of headed the social media campaign. His name is Owen, and he was very well connected with local news outlets, and
Cool.
so he kind of headed the charge in getting the word out there about this. I don't know where the idea originated from.
Yeah.
It was pretty much a collective, like, let's try to get into the Super
Try
Bowl.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, moving on. What was that feeling when you were told at your banquet that you have done it, you have somehow gotten JT's attention, Justin Timberlake's attention, and you're gonna perform in the halftime show?
Yeah, it was hard to believe. Like the at the banquet at which they told us that we were going to be a part of it. Our director, Professor McCann, she was giving her sort of end of season wrap up speech, and she was acting a little strange. I could tell, like she made us all put our phones in the middle of the table so we couldn't touch them, and I thought it was just really some sort of anti-screen socialize with each other more, it's the sort of spiel.
Yeah.
But really, she was just making sure we couldn't grab our phones and leak that we were going to be part of this. And then she announced it to us, and the whole room, it was pandemonium. It was kids embracing, screaming. I saw some crying happening. I was really just sitting there in disbelief. Like, was this really happening? But and I don't think it really ever sunk in. I don't. It still hasn't.
Sure.
But yeah, it was just elation would be the right word to describe how
Definitely.
how everybody felt.
And there's like 300 members in the band at least,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we are a 320 member marching band,
So it's
and so
massive. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and our our families were there too, and
Yep.
it was just a really cool moment to share with everybody because we work really hard and as every marching band does, and so to be able to show off what we can do even for just 5 seconds on a stage that big was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So now you've gotten the announcement and you know you have to start rehearsing a show. What were those rehearsals like? How often did you have them?
Yeah, so we were we found out about our involvement back in December, and then there was a good month and a half where we were sort of left in the dark.
Hmm.
We didn't totally know to what extent we would be involved, what we would be playing, if would be playing at all. There was a chance that we would just be the screaming
Yeah,
fans,
like actors. Yeah.
right? But so we didn't know many details for a long time, um, which seemed strange because you would think that like these big productions would be sort of set up and planned out like a year in advance.
Sure.
But really there were a lot of behind the scenes preparation work, a lot of stuff that was being done that we didn't know about, and so we actually didn't start rehearsing until about 2 weeks before the
Wow.
Super Bowl. But it was just jam packed in those 2 weeks. Um, so I think the week leading up to the Super Bowl, we were 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. pretty much every day
Wow.
at the stadium, um, and so it was hard. It was definitely a big time commitment within those 2 weeks, and we're 300 full-time college students, and so that was definitely difficult. And the rehearsals themselves were not difficult necessarily, but they were sort of stressful in the sense that there were just so many people there. It's a very huge production.
Right.
There were 320 of us plus 400 some dancers
Right.
from high schools in the area, plus another several hundred of crew members that were there simply to just move all the stages and all the lights and all that stuff. So it was, I give a lot of credit to the people that design the show and run the rehearsals because it's a lot of cattle herding
Yeah.
uh, to
Yeah.
be doing. And that's partially why we were there for so long. Like there's so many moving parts and stuff like that. But
Yeah. You have to take it pretty slow,
definitely. But so lots of rehearsals, but it was definitely worth it.
Definitely. So, I have to ask this question. I'm sure that Justin Timberlake was involved with the rehearsals to some extent. Like, how much did you guys see him and rehearse with him? And, like, how much face-to-face time were you guys getting?
Yeah. So like I said, we rehearsed for about 2 weeks. The marching band did, and he was there for about the last week.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
and he had been the whole time he had been off in his remote location doing his own rehearsing with his dancers and with the band. But then he came and all the pieces came together about a week before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So he showed up. It was sort of a surprise when he showed up. The woman that ran the show, she kind of hinted at it, and she was like, "You never know who might show up today." But he came and everybody was a little starstruck,
Definitely.
obviously, but he was very willing to get right out there and work with us and sort of interact with us. He was very approachable, and he was very thankful for all of our hard work and that for our involvement in his show. So
Definitely. Okay, so my last question. How did this? You've had some pretty incredible years with Bluecoats, some very awesome performances. How did that even weigh up to getting to perform the halftime show of the Super Bowl?
yeah, it's tough to compare because the Super Bowl halftime show was really only a product of 2 weeks of work, but the audience was just so much bigger.
Right.
I would say it was, in that sense, it was equally as rewarding of an experience, because drum corps is
It's a grind.
whole summer. It's a grind of making one show really perfect. The crowds certainly aren't as big. Unfortunately, the drum corps activity is not as mainstream as the Super Bowl is.
Right.
But because of the grind and because of the relationships you build and because of the pride you take in the product, the show, drum corps is more rewarding in that sense.
Sure.
But the Super Bowl,
it's the Super Bowl.
It's the Super Bowl, exactly. It's a full stadium with, and that's only a small fraction of the number of people, the millions and millions of people that watched it. So that was it. They were both very fulfilling, rewarding experiences, but for separate reasons.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Well, if you have any last words you'd like to say to anybody out there, now's your time. Any words about college marching band or performing in a Super Bowl or being a member of the Bluecoats? Go ahead.
I would just say, put yourself out there. That's my go-to word of advice. Whether you're thinking about auditioning for a college band, whether you're thinking about auditioning for drum corps, just put yourself out there, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know who you're going to meet and what can come out of those relationships that you build. And just having people know you and see your face and know that you work hard and have a good attitude is only going to help you. And at the very least, you're going to make some new friends, meet some cool people, and learn a lot. So,
yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today, Kyle. It was great to talk to you about all this, get some insight into what goes into one of the most watched halftime performances ever. So thanks again, and have a great day, everybody.